Hi guys, welcome back. This is Matt Chat episode 573 featuring an interview with Mr. Stephen L. Kent. Now Steve is probably best known for being the author of this, The Ultimate History of Video Games, 2 volumes, working on the 3rd volume as we'll see in this video. But one of the great inspirations, not just for Matt Chat, but for my book Dungeons and Desktops, which got all this started. Basically a guy who interviewed hundreds and hundreds of game developers and studio heads and everybody involved in the making of everything from Pong to Space Invaders to Pac-Man, all the Nintendo, Sega era. I mean, these are pretty much the Bibles if you're interested in game history, which of course you are because you're here watching Matt Chat. Anyway, I had a great conversation with Steve. I think that this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, if you will. Just a great guy, great chat. I know you're really, really going to like it. Anyway, we've got a lot to cover, so without further ado, here is Mr. Steve L. Kent. Every time I use Zoom, they change up the interface on me. I guess we're good. There's that recording on your end?
Well, I got a warning that this meeting is being recorded, so I guess we're good.
Oh, yeah, it's recording. It's recording for quality assurance.
Oh, I'm sure.
The overseers, have to. How are you doing, Steve? It's just such a pleasure to meet you, and really happy we were finally able to connect.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's good to meet you as well. Yeah. Like your shirt, by the way.
Oh yeah, Zircon. I wore this for you. I thought I got a big collection of T-shirts, so I always try to find one to kind of match up with the guest,
That explains why I liked it so much.
I don't know if maybe you've got a Ultimate History T-shirt somewhere.
No,
you don't have that kind of merch.
Not at all. Although I will admit that this morning I woke up and looked there are arcade machines I'd love to get my hands on.
And I bet I know one that you would like to have if you don't have it already.
Which one?
Tempest.
Yeah, so my 2 favorite machines, my favorite machine I ever owned, and boy, it's hard to find, was Super Puzzle Fighter from Capcom.
Super Puzzle. Oh, I've heard it. Maybe I've even played that one.
That one.
Oh, wait, is it Super Puzzle Fighter 2? Is that a different game, or is that?
It might be the same. That's the one to own. If there's one game arcade machine I'm gonna own, that's the one. Tempest. I love Tempest, but I'm not really good at Tempest.
Well, that's the one with the knob, right? The dial.
Tempest, yes.
With the vector graphics. Yeah, those games are. I mean, they weren't designed to sit there and play all day, right? You're doing pretty good.
No. Well, but you know about the history of asteroids, right?
Oh yeah, that's Atari's, right? From
that's Atari's. Well, Tempest.
You got a little cheat you can do if you hang out around the certain part of the screen or something.
Well, not that so much as just that you got a free man every so many points.
Oh.
And there were people who got so good, they could play for hours and hours and hours, and I think like 24 hours, because they'd get so many free men. Plus, they would, hang on one second. Plus, so if they had to use the bathroom, they had so many free men, they could just walk over and use the bathroom or go get something to eat.
Yeah, this was all these games are incredibly difficult. This one was, 1972. Wow. Wait, what did this come out? Couldn't have been that early.
72 is when Atari came around.
Oh, I see. That was a different line. So it looks like 1979 for that one.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I used to, as a kid, I would try to draw this artwork in my notebooks and stuff. It just looks so cool.
Yeah.
I think I even had remember the tapes and books or the records and books? You remember those for you teach kids how to read?
Okay.
I had one about asteroids.
Really?
Yeah, and I guess they just had to create a whole story because I don't think there's too much in the game itself.
No, there isn't. But you could turn it into, and later there was a game that did turn it into the idea that they were mining.
Oh, well, that makes a
There-
lot of sense. Yeah, that, yeah.
yeah. In fact, there were a few games like or things that pinged off of asteroids. Do you remember Sinistar?
Yeah, I was just thinking of that. Have you seen that documentary about Sinistar?
No,
Oh my God, you got to watch that. Let me see if I can get the name for you. Yeah, it's
I
called
never met Dave Needle.
Resurrecting Sinistar.
I never met Dave Needle, but I got to be very friendly with RJ Michael, and RJ was just a lovely person.
Yeah, he's
Um,
somebody I've always wanted to meet.
yeah,
Let's
nice
see.
man.
I was going to show you this.
Yeah, show me,
Get a
please.
chance to look at this. It's free on YouTube. I've had this guy on Cinemax, but he does a really in-depth look at this. I mean, it just goes way beyond. I think you're probably uniquely suited for to enjoy it. Yeah, it's a lot of details and stuff. But yeah, let's go back to that puzzle game again. So what was this? Maybe you could say what was so great about that one.
It
Get
was
my.
sort of a,
So
it
this was
was
like your ultimate collector's item. You want?
well, that would be my favorite. I owned it one for a long, long time, and then got rid of it. And it was one where, I'm not a champion level player at any game, and I mean none at all. But like, I got rid of my Donkey Kong machine. I had an original Donkey Kong machine
Oh
because I got
yeah.
tired of people coming over to the house and beating me. Um,
Well, that's the one that got all that. Who's that guy that's doing all? He's always trying to Billy Mitchell, I think.
Billy Mitchell and Steve Wiebe lived maybe 5 miles from my house when I
Oh,
owned the Donkey Kong machine,
so you
up here in
you
Seattle.
got those guys over. Yeah, I never was that competitive with these things. I just enjoy playing them, but
Exactly, that's where I am. I did once play a game of Galaga against Billy Mitchell.
yeah,
And you can say what you like about
that didn't
him.
lead to any lawsuits, I hope.
No, no, no. But it led to lots of humiliation.
Oh, well, yeah,
I'm
he's a
not a
killer.
good, I'm better, I'm not great at any game, but I'm better, but I'm worse at Galaga than most.
Yeah, I remember
And
I had a friend that we were playing Miss Pac-Man one time, and of course, I last like a couple minutes. It was
yeah,
just like with that guy you were talking about with asteroids. I mean, he plugged in a quarter, and he was just playing and playing and playing, and like the pizza came, and he was looking around for a kid that would take over for him. I mean, the skill is just incredible with some of these guys.
I have a good friend named Fred Watson. I mean, so we're going back to 1983, I think, and he or 84, and he and I went to a pizza time or Showbiz Pizza,
Ah,
not a
showbiz.
Chuck E. Cheese, but we got $10 worth of quarters. He gave me $9.50 of it, and then
Yeah.
he went to the Star Wars machine, the
Oh,
sit
that's a
down
sweet
Star
one.
Wars cabinet, and he had it all down. And after I'd gone through all $9.50, at a quarter a game, I looked over and there was a big crowd gathered behind watching him playing. And so
Nice.
I joined the crowd and watched for a while and finally just said, "Hey, Fred, I'm going home now."
Yeah, I've seen sometimes they'll set up a big screen so everybody can watch the
Yeah,
champion players. That's really impressive. Yeah, Star Wars. Is that the full enclosure one with the cockpit and everything? And
exactly.
yeah, that's a pretty sweet machine.
That was a great machine.
Yeah,
That's
that's
one
got
I
the
wouldn't
voice.
mind
That's
owning.
like one of the early digitized voices too from the
Yeah,
movie in there. Yeah, cool
yeah.
stuff.
Although, I mean, Star Trek beat it to the punch, and that had, the,
Star Trek. There's an arcade game. I don't know if I've
yeah,
seen that one.
it's a Sega one, and that had Mr. Spock welcoming you as you came on board.
Oh, yeah. What was that thing he's always saying? The one for the many or the one for the few or something to do
Yeah,
with quarters, I assume. Oh, yeah, Sega. Wow, it's just such a strange world sometimes. So,
yeah.
yeah, Sega's making this in Japan. Wow. So
There's a real trick to that game, by the way,
is
which
this a
is
good game or
it's not a bad game at all. For its time, it was, I think, a little ahead of its time. But the trick to it was it it was a split screen, and if you looked at the big space on the bottom, you were next to dead. But if you looked at the display on the top and on the right hand side, actually you could go much longer on the game.
wow? I don't know, I've never even seen one of these cabinets.
It was a nice cabinet for
I
its
need to
time,
find.
and like I say, Leonard Nimoy welcoming you in.
Yeah. Oh, I remember when stuff like that was just so so incredible. Like remember those consoles that have their voice boxes and stuff
Oh yeah,
and
that was
television. I think a
great.
television had one. Do they all have them? Yeah.
Well, I think it
I remember
may have
Commodore 60. I had
started,
one on my Commodore 64, like a cartridge that would talk.
and I think that may have started with the Odyssey 2.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could be wrong about that, but I think Odyssey 2 was the first one that had a voice box.
Yeah, I got an Odyssey 2 sitting over there. I was at a little flea market thing the other day and I found a bunch of cartridges for that. And I'm like, wow.
Really?
Yeah. I just like the guy was like, he thought they were Atari carts. Just, picked up a big stack of them.
So how much did you have to pay per cartridge?
Oh, like a buck or two.
That's good.
It's just a loose cartridge. It's what I really like to find is the ones in the box.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I was listening to one of your interviews, Steve, that you did a couple years ago. I almost broke into tears when you're talking about all the stuff you got rid of, and
Oh,
just I don't know. Do you
and
have
then
like regrets about that, or is that like, it was
no, I
that's
don't. I really don't. That's I suspect in that interview I was talking about the Super Mario cartridge.
yeah, like the sealed, still in the shrink wrap, and
Yeah, which was worth more than my house, frankly.
oh, I know
But
exactly how you feel because I'm not as anywhere near your level, with this stuff, but there's getting to be like aisles
yeah,
in your house where you like there's stacks of stuff, and people are all the time, oh man, I bet you would like to have all this stuff.
you
Where do
know,
I put it?
yeah,
Oh,
at some point I decide if I'm not going to play it, I don't know why I'm going to keep it. And
as
I
soon as you
wasn't
get rid
getting
of it,
around
you're like,
to
I
it.
want to play that again.
Yeah, well now with all those emulators, for $70 you can buy, or $80 off Amazon, you can buy something with every conceivable emulator on it.
Yeah.
And you end up with what, 200,000 games, and
Well, that's one of the biggest differences between then and now is like everybody I talk to has got these theme libraries that are like the Library of Alexandria for games.
yeah,
They never play maybe two or three on any regular basis. It's like we got way. It's like we don't have enough time now. Whereas back then it was you might have one or two new games a year if you were lucky, right? I mean,
exactly, yeah. What Steam really has done for video gamers what iTunes did for music lovers. And
was that a
I
good
know people like,
thing? I can't tell if you're saying that like that's a terrible thing or is
no,
that
it's a
probably
wonderful thing.
wonderful thing. Okay.
If you're old enough, which I am, and you might be as well, I see a little white in there.
Oh,
Um,
I don't. Well, still got some. I'm just waiting for like the bald spots at this point. But
well,
oh,
so
video games will keep us young, Steve.
they help, they do. But
Yeah, cognitively for sure.
when I was a kid, well, still, musicians release an album, and usually albums are 1 to 2 good songs and 5 to 8 songs that you really wouldn't go out of your way to buy.
Unless it's Blue Oyster Cult, then every song is. No, I know
Well,
exactly what, and I think the artists themselves feel that way, right? Just the contract, we got to have 8 songs,
yeah.
they
Now
probably don't
maybe
even write them.
the Beatles gave you a better mix, because so much of the Beatles was good. But my point is that iTunes came along and said, you don't have to buy the whole album. Here are the songs, pick which ones you want. And, Steam kind of democratized seeing things as well. I feel it did.
You talked about in that interview that was it Gabe Newell, I think's the
Yes.
so he brought you in, showed you Steam, and I guess like as a prototype of Steam, and you took a look at it and were like, no, this'll never work.
Well,
Which I'm not, that's kind of funny today, but I totally get it. I've been the same way. I don't know why anybody, I mean, because you had so many failed efforts before that.
exactly. That was exactly it. That so many companies had tried it, and all of them ended up eating their hats. And
It was a game tap.
I was involved in GameTap.
Uh, oh, you were
I was
involved. I didn't
ve-
know you were involved in that.
I was very involved in GameTap. Yeah.
Let's see.
Um, yeah, GameTap. I mean, there were just so many.
How
Maybe
were you
Gabe
involved
Newell
in
just
Game
proved that.
Tap? Were you like doing documentaries or something for it, or?
Yeah, I did lots of or I appeared in documentaries for them. They had me write histories of games that they ran.
Oh,
Um, yeah, GameTap.
it
My,
looks good. I mean,
it was a
you had.
clever idea, and they had lots of money behind them because of Turner.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
Yeah, he just passed away recently.
oh, I didn't know that.
You're talking about the TBS guy, right?
Yeah, I never got to meet Ted Turner. Never even came close to meeting him, but it was GameTop was a clever idea. It was a They needed Nintendo support, and Nintendo was not about to give it. And so, there was that problem, and then another problem was there were a lot of little problems. There were attempts at video games, arcade games, and computer games, and then Nolan Bushnell came around and had just the right combination of showmanship and future sight
Mm.
to make arcade games work. And I think the same thing can be said with there are I mean, you can go back to the Sega network. There are all kinds of attempts to try and find ways to put games out there where they would be floating in the ether and people could play them. But it took Gabe Newell to pull it off. And Gabe
Wait, is this
Newell's
Sega
pretty
making it?
amazing.
Oh, who is it?
Gabe
Gabe Newell?
Newell's
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, we're still
I,
wondering when we're ever going to get a Half-Life 3, So
I sure hope so. Half-Life,
they make
but
so much
Half-Life
money with the Steam or Valve, why even bother?
they dribble things out, new things out. Gabe Newell, I got to know him from when they first started Valve, pretty much. Uh, Half-Life was very slow coming out, and he was hooked up with Sierra, and all of them were here just miles from my house. And so I got to meet Gabe Newell several times, and you could tell there was something different about him
Mm.
than all the other game company people. I mean, Ken Williams, and
Oh, yeah, lovely people.
a wonderful person, but he had gone from being, I don't know if he was ever really interested in the games. He became very interested in running the business.
Are you talking about Ken
Yeah.
or Gabe?
No, Ken.
Oh, Ken.
Gabe Gabe had a love for games. He stood out as being someone who actually loved the games. It's like if you went to Xbox and you met Robbie Bach, you could tell that Robbie Bach was a great leader. And if you met Jay Allard, you could tell that Jay Allard was a visionary. But if you met Ed Freeze, you knew you were
Oh,
dealing with somebody who loved games.
I got to meet him. I got an episode with him.
Was it Ed?
Yeah, and I was just reading your the volume two. Not to show. I got all your books over here.
Oh, you're very kind.
But there's actually a couple I didn't even know about. But anyway, yeah, Ed Freeze, I really liked him. I don't
Isn't
feel
he
like
something?
his name just doesn't come up enough. I don't think not enough people know what he did.
Here in America, he should be the patron saint of gaming. I mean, there are other people who should be patron saints too. I would argue that Sid Meier and Will Wright deserve a lot of love and credit.
Some of the
Um,
best games of all time, those guys.
yeah, some of the best games of all time. But
Here's
but for
Ed.
his love and his want to restore games, and really for his with Ed Freeze for his he's not out in the slightest for attention. He's just out to try and do good things for gaming. And for all those reasons, I think Ed Freeze should be a patron saint of gaming.
Yeah, I agree. We can make that happen. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he's the one that did that Halo for the 2600.
He got challenged into that by Mike Micah and Chris Charla.
I mean, this just not everybody would do something like this.
Nope.
He might be the
He
only one.
well, so he had made a quip to them about that you somebody should do it, and they told him to put his money where his mouth was. So he did.
That doesn't look too bad either.
No.
Yeah, that's a fascinating system. I it seemed like the academic side, there's a lot of interest in that. There was a book, Racing the Beam.
Yes,
A lot of people talk about that. These guys just did incredible things given the limitations of that technology.
they did. They did. Well, you had some great minds involved in that. Not the least of which was Mr. Crane, you know.
Oh yeah, I got to meet him. He's that's probably been 20 years ago. Yeah, he was. We were at a game developer GDC convention. Sure, you've been to those. Thinking he had somebody with him, his partner. They'd gone way back, Activision days, but yeah, I was impressed with him. Of course, he was kind of interested in the business side as well. He talked a lot about how he felt like they weren't getting the fair compensation from the Atari company, so they wanted to go off and do their own thing, and then there were lawsuits, all this commotion. But yeah, he's a nice guy. He was in the news recently for something. I didn't see what that was
Huh.
about. I think
He
somebody maybe there's some interest in Pitfall for some reason coming back.
well, they could do a Pitfall movie.
Ah, wasn't it based on kind of when did that was it before Indiana Jones?
Post Indiana Jones.
Post Indiana Jones. Yeah, so I think it'd do well.
Yeah,
Kind of you can do kind of a lyric. I mean, if they can make one about Tomb Raider. I don't know if without I don't think Angelina Jolie is going to be playing Pitfall Harry though. That's
that's true.
had to find somebody to play him.
Well, the thing that's so hilarious is that
All right.
when Tomb Raider came out, people said it was like a Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think that may even be part of the reason they threw the word Raider in the title. I don't know,
Oh,
but what I will point out is later when a new Raiders of the Lost Ark came out or a new Indiana Jones, they actually had to say, well, it's like Tomb Raider because people didn't remember the movies anymore.
well, some of those Indiana Jones movies are better than others.
One of those Indiana Jones movies is much better than the others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, a lot of games based on movies and movies based on games and
Have
that,
you gone to the last chapter of Volume 2?
uh, I got that one on my Kindle.
Uh,
I'm not quite done.
the last chapter is 50 pages long,
I
and
finished
it's
up
about
that
the
a week.
dysfunctional relationship of Hollywood and Silicon Valley.
Okay. Well,
And
that's some good stuff to look forward to.
oh, that chapter, Volume 2, I like Volume 1. I like Volume 2 a lot. Volume 2 looked at a lot of things that I liked. Volume 3, which I'm just starting now, is going to be much more personal again, much more intimate the way
Oh,
Volume 1 was.
I didn't know you were working on a third one.
No, you're the first person to hear it.
Oh,
outside
breaking
of people
news
on
here
the
on Matt
internet.
Chat. Thanks for that, Steve. Yeah, let's look at this. Yeah, it's about time, I think, because enough time has gone by for sure. Are you going to
Well,
pick up?
so
Are you going to pick up where Volume 2 left off? Or
exactly. So
okay,
volume one took us from Abraham Lincoln to the year 2000.
yeah, I got the.
Volume
Here's my
two,
copy of the first one. That's
yeah, that's,
wow.
and then volume two started in 2000, had some overlap because 21 years had passed between when I wrote the first one and the second one, and then stopped in 2012. And even that was funny because originally I thought, let's just re-release volume one and we'll put a couple chapters on to catch it up.
Yeah,
And
second edition.
then and the publisher was fine with that. And then we realized, no, we need to do a whole different volume two. And so volume two was supposed to be from 2000 to 218. And it became very, very quickly evident that volume two could only go to 2012 because so much happened after 2012 that volume three is going to be from 2012 to the present day.
Oh, I just love all these things. You not to sound too much like a fanboy, but wow, you really inspired me. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the books I did with the.
I did go look actually.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of that's that journalism, the journalist instinct. Yeah, but yeah, I love those books so much. And this, when I was reading them, there wasn't like you could find this information anywhere. You can just go online and find any of this stuff. I mean, this is, where I learned a bunch about these topics, and then all those interviews that you did. You must be up to like 10,000. It feels like. I mean,
Those
there's probably
interviews
one
were
guy running around at one of these studios you haven't talked to, and he's like, that's a point of
wow.
pride for him.
Those interviews were so fun to do. I mean, I can't even tell you how exciting it was. I got a bad reputation because every time I interviewed Miyamoto, I would bring a new pile of games for him to sign. They're
Yeah,
all
he's
gone
kind of
now,
a
by the
humble. He's
way.
like so shocked anybody even cares, right?
Originally, he was. Now he knows he's a celebrity.
Oh yeah.
But when I first met him, he's like, "Wait, you came from Seattle to come interview me?" And it's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Why?" And it's like, "Well, you're this person. You're Miyamoto." And he was very surprised. The story I tell a lot was the first time I interviewed Dave Toyer, who I consider a friend. Um, Dave Toyer, when I was going around California interviewing people for the Atari section of my book,
Oh, he's the
and I reached Dave Toyer, and people helped me find him. And I said, can we go out? Can I interview you? Maybe we can go out to dinner. And so when I went down to interview him, um, I said, where would you like to eat? And he recommended a place that was like an Applebee's. And it's like, well, you don't want to eat anything better? He's like, no. I think he thought he was supposed to pay for my dinner. Um, Ed Toy or Dave Toyer is all of those guys. I mean, when you meet those guys, those Atari guys, there's just no ego. Ed Law, Dave Toyer, all of them. They're just nice guys.
Yeah, about the
And
closest experience I've had to that. I got to meet John Romero. He was like that. He was just so it's like back. This was probably again 20 years ago, but he was just so excited. Somebody actually knew enough about him in the games that they've made that he could really talk. It's like
yeah,
he talked just like he does back then, probably not now, but like people would interview him and not even bring up Doom. I'm like, what the
wow.
hell? How? I mean, I'm not. It's not like I am the best interviewer in the world, but I think I would make sure I put that question on the.
Yeah, Doom kind of changed the face of gaming. So, yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to miss on this Miyamoto story. So you're talking to the Tempest guy, and
Oh,
well, I
just
guess
yeah.
maybe Miyamoto's kind of similarly.
Miyamoto, he's a nice guy. He's still a nice guy. I haven't talked to him in years and years now. Um,
Well, I haven't talked to him
but
at all. I don't even know how you would even go. So do you speak Japanese or?
no, Nintendo always provided me with interpreters.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, and
He's where would Nintendo be? Where would video games be without this one man?
well, that's the thing is, I would argue that Shigeru Miyamoto is is to games what both Shakespeare
Hmm.
and who's the guy who wrote Tom Jones? I can't believe I'm forgetting his spacing his
That's it,
name now.
Henry Fielding.
Yeah, I would say that Miyamoto is both of them combined for games. Because he brought stories to it. He elevated everything. Shigeru Miyamoto really elevated everything in games. Now, Nintendo later became very involved in building his mythos, which I'm not sure he was ever entirely comfortable with.
Yeah, probably not.
That they started going beyond going beyond his contributions, which sounds impossible, but they figured out a way to do it so that they could say that his fingerprints were on every single success, which they weren't, and they brought so Shigeru Miyamoto and Genyo Takeda, and especially my personal hero Gunpei Yokoi.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that's the
they,
Game Boy.
Yeah, they left their fingerprints on they did such a good job of training and teaching people that what they did continues on.
There's
Gunpei and I were, I mean, he didn't speak a whole lot of English either, but he and I were friends. If we saw each other at E3 or at a at a Nintendo trade show in Japan, we'd go and we'd sit and find a translator and talk for a while, just
wow.
as friends.
You've just got this incredible perspective on these things. Just some of the people you've been in a room with, Ultra
That
Hand going, oh, that's what
Yeah.
he's best known for. Who would I mean, imagine looking at that and saying, oh yeah, this guy. Oh yeah, if you invented this, we have to get you
Well,
the vision of that.
Gunpei Yokoi there's something extra special about him. In a way, I guess he's also kind of a martyr because he died so early that it preserved him. The only thing that you can really blame him for is Virtual Boy.
Oh yeah, that's the thing that was got him in some trouble, right?
Exactly. But
Have
and
you
the
played
last
around
time
with those?
the last time I saw him, I was in Tokyo for the Space World where they unveiled the N64. And so Space World's in this big warehouse, and in the far back corner on the left, they have N64 and all the attention's there. And then they've got, I think they had some Game Boy stuff. I think they still had some NES stuff going, definitely, and maybe even on NES or Super NES. And then they might have had a NES thing in there. They may not have, but when you walked in, you walked past Virtual Boy, and it was a barren no man's land. And Virtual Boys were already being discounted
Oh,
in Tokyo. You could buy them for half the price they launched for.
poor guy.
And
Was that fair? I mean, what was the deal? People said it gave him headaches or something or
it could
vertigo.
give you a headache. It could give you, if you didn't have it adjusted properly, it would give you a headache. Nintendo propagated these rumors that I bought into, to be honest, about what was really going on. But what you have to understand, how it worked. Gunpei Yokoi, have you ever heard of his blue water, red water philosophy?
No, Not really sure, but there's something to do with like chumming the waters or something.
Well, so he
I
said
always
that,
think of him and the thing about the weather technology, the weather technology.
yeah, that's it. That's it. That's exactly it.
Is that the
So
same sort of metaphor?
yeah, so it's the same thing. He said he would rather be in the blue water than in the red water where all the sharks are.
Oh, okay.
And the red water with the sharks was the latest, newest technologies. So Microsoft and Sony are coming out with their Xboxes and their PlayStations that are cutting edge, absolutely cutting edge. They're expensive as hell to build. Uh, they're losing hundreds of dollars on all of the first consoles, which is okay because they're giving away the razors to sell the blades, the Gillette model. So no problem there. Nothing wrong with that. But what Yokoi was saying was if we use the last generation of technology, first of all, our games will actually look better than their games in the beginning because all the programmers know how to program for those processors. They know how to optimize their games on those processors. And on top of that, Nintendo, when Microsoft and Sony were losing hundreds of dollars for those first consoles, Sony was making 50, $60 on each console they sold. It was brilliant. It was just absolutely brilliant. That's why, Game Boy, when it came out against the Atari Lynx.
Oh, the links.
I mean, Lynx with its beautiful color lit screen. Game Boy. There was a reporter from Canada that used to refer to Game Boy as Dim Boy because, it was
Well, I mean, just looking at the links, you'd be like, "Oh, this is way better than a Game Boy." Who'd want a crummy old Game Boy? But you got the links.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
it
it
wasn't.
costs a lot
Yeah,
more.
there's your RJ.
Yep,
Yeah, so he was on that.
yep. It
Uh,
costs more, and more importantly, it drank batteries alive.
I think there was some problems with the screen or something too, right? It was always breaking on you.
I don't know. I didn't have that problem ever, so I don't remember. I wasn't active in as a journalist until 4 years after it came out. And I don't remember ever asking anybody. Maybe I even have it in the book and just forgot. All this white hair on my head didn't come at, or
Yeah,
came at a price. But
Atari just always seemed to. I mean, they had the big, I guess, the 2600 era, the 52, but yeah, it just seemed like they were kind of floundering after Nintendo.
oh yeah,
And
they never had their feet
never
after
could.
Nintendo. I mean, they were already divided by that time too. I mean, the arcade division went one way and the home console division went the other way. The home console division got, you know, picked up by the founder of Commodore, the
Jack
Tramiels.
Jack True. How do you say his last name?
Tramiel,
Tramiel.
yeah.
Did you ever get to meet him?
Oh yeah, I met Jack and Sam, and Sam in particular is, I think, would tell you he's not a fan of mine. He was one of two people. Two people absolutely refused to participate in Ultimate History Volume One.
Oh, why?
One of them was Sam Tramiel. Jack was dead by the time I think by the time I started writing, and the other one was Ken Kutaragi.
Oh, yeah. You talk about him a lot in Volume Two.
Yeah, well, he's a fascinating person. Um,
Doesn't really fit in with the culture, I guess, or the corporate culture there. If I recall what you were
he's not
saying.
especially Japanese. I
Yeah,
mean,
and I was
that's
trying to
what
think about
blows
what
me
nice
away.
way to say it. Well, a
But he's a
visionary.
brilliant engineer,
I think you kind of compared him to
and
Steve Jobs.
yeah, yeah, and in some ways you could probably compare him to Donald Trump too. I mean, one of the things people talk about was, you know, it wasn't a good year if Ken didn't fire you two or three times.
Uh, uh, so you said you got to, or you didn't meet him, or
Well, no, I met him several times,
but
and he would try to bribe me to do things. Like I had a meeting with LucasArts at E3.
okay.
Um, And his PR person called up and said, "Hey, look, we want you to meet at this time." And I said, "Well, I've got a meeting with LucasArts." And they said, "Well, he'll give you an interview for the book if you come at this time." And I
Oh.
couldn't do that to LucasArts.
Oh.
So I never got him in the book, but it would have only been a 15-minute meeting with him at most. And how much you get 1 or 2 quotes out of that? There's nothing there.
Yeah, some of these, I haven't interviewed too many of these really big shots, but the ones I have, they usually there's a guy there or a gal, right, that kind of, oh, can't say that or don't answer that.
Yep, there is that. That never happened for me. That never happened with Howard Lincoln and Mino Arakawa in particular. Uh, and Kaz Harai actually didn't do that. He would just meet with me one-on-one. Bernie Stoller and really, mostly it was the Japanese ones who would be more guarded around me.
Trying to
And
think.
and even there, this is my little trade secret. Um, which is my saying this in public now is going to bite me in the butt as I work on this book. But my trade secret was that I would interview them, and I didn't speak Japanese. I don't speak a lick of Japanese, but I'd record the whole interview. And the woman I hired to transcribe those tapes spoke fluent Japanese. She was half Japanese. And they would look at each other and say things they knew I couldn't understand without ever realizing that I would take it home to her and she would tell me exactly what that. I was the one who discovered that the N64 wasn't coming out when they said it was. And the way I discovered it was I interviewed Miyamoto and one of their other executives and said, "So, when is it really going to come out?" And they looked at each other and they said, "Do you think he knows?" "No, there's no way he knows. So we should just say it's coming out on time." "Yes, let's say that."
Oh man, so they didn't know? What? How could they
It
not
never
know?
occurred to them that I could do that.
Wow, that's something. So you got a lot of. I hope you have a. I know you got rid of some of those tapes, but no telling what treasures are there.
I got rid of a whole lot of tapes because there was no use for them. And then Stanford University contacted me. They've got a history of digital museum. And they said, "Do you have any of those old tapes?" And I went through and I found maybe 100 of them. But there was a time where I had cases of them. And, well, there you go.
And I forget who it was. You said you had a couple guys in a room, and you're like, how unlikely it would ever be that these guys would ever be at a table together, And it was all recorded, and then somebody, I forget if you gave them away or just threw them in the garbage. I mean, what's the?
Probably tossed them. More often than not, I tossed them. Now, like I say, any I had left went to Stanford.
Well, you never know what might.
Um,
One thing I've always learned is you never know when something might come back that you thought was lost.
yeah.
I mean, like your garbage collector maybe was a secret fan of yours. It's collecting all
Never
the
know.
yeah.
You never know. But well, since I don't really think I have very many fans, I'm going to guess that pretty heavily. I'd bet heavily that he's not.
So do
But
you have? You think you've got more fans now that you've done so many novels, and you probably have a different crew or a different
you
fan
know,
base.
video or when it comes to writing, you're only as good as your most recent book. My most recent book, I did Ultimate History of Video Games 2 in 2020. So it's 6 years later. The Ultimate History books continue to sell pretty well. I've been contacted by a couple of people saying, "Hey, when are you going to work on volume 3 now?" So I'm grateful to them, deeply grateful. But yeah, all I can say is I'm grateful that people still read it. I loved writing the book. I loved meeting those people and getting their stories. And as far as not meeting the people at the top have really interesting top-down stories, but the people in the middle and the people out there programming and doing the frontline work, they have fabulous stories too. I'm going to do a lot more of that this time.
That's one thing. Again, I haven't done nearly as many interviews as you, but I'm always surprised. Like you just never know who's going to have the good stories.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
always like the more I try to find people that haven't been interviewed like millions of times because I mean they've got the pat answers. You're going to get the same thing that they've done 100 times, right? But if you find that one person that's like, "Well, I can't believe you're interviewing me,"
Yeah,
well, then I can sit here all day and like, whoa, my mind blown, mind blown.
yeah, exactly. One of my favorite stories I ever got was, are you familiar with Knowledge Tree?
Oh, knowledge tree.
They made games that weren't supposed to be made, unlicensed
That's
games for
not
the
wisdom tree.
NES.
That's
Or
the other.
You're right, it's Wisdom Tree.
Oh, is it wisdom tree?
Yeah,
So they're the Nintendo.
they were doing unlicensed games, and they were betting heavily that if they made their games Christian games, Nintendo wouldn't take them to court.
Well, that's an interesting model.
Yeah, yeah, it
Well, I
was
guess
really
it worked.
interesting.
Yeah, we got that 10 NES lockout chip technology.
Yep,
Yeah, that's something that doesn't get talked about enough because that was a big, literally a game changer. Huh?
it was.
Days of Atari. Oh, where would Activision be if the Atari 2600 had something like this?
Well, what the Atari 2600 had was it was hard as hell to program for, I think, and that kept people out too.
So you got to meet these wisdom tree folks.
I did one or two of them, and they had some really hilarious stories. You know,
So what were they? Were they like kind of trying to convert you to get you go to church or something? I mean, were how
well,
sort of I don't want to say be unkind, but how deep was the fervor?
they no these mine. What at least the guys actually making the games were they were mercenaries. They weren't. As far as trying to get me to go to church, it probably would have gone the other way around. I'm actually pretty religious,
Okay.
but as far as their yeah, the guys actually making the games were programmers for hire. They weren't
That's
out there
amazing.
trying to convert. Yeah,
Like we're gonna bleepity bleep these Christian bookstores. Yeah, I
yeah,
was. You ever get to meet the Mist people?
yeah. Sure, a couple of
I've
times
heard
they
they
were
were really strong Christian developers, right? If I
and
remember.
they were only across the mountains from me. They were in Spokane,
Oh,
and really nice guys. Really nice guys. Yeah, I I I think they were a little mystified by their own success.
well, I would be too. I mean, they were it's basically like these PowerPoints kind of
Well,
technology for those, and just was
what
so. Would you? Was that when you saw Mist the first time? You're like, oh yeah, this is going to be the biggest bestseller of the
Well,
decade.
there'd never been anything that like it. Mist and The Seventh Guest came out at the same time.
Yeah.
And The Seventh Guest did for PC games what Mist did for Mac. It the reason frankly, so in 1986 I started doing book reviews for the Seattle Times. Then in 88 I went off to get my master's degree, and when I came back to Utah with my master's degree, there were a few games for PC that I just really wanted to have, and I couldn't afford them. We were poor. My wife. So the reason I had started doing book reviews was back in the mid 80s, there were two kinds of people in the world: the people who could afford to buy Stephen King novels when they came out and ruin them for everybody, and the people who had to put up with all the spoilers.
Sure.
And I decided I'd rather be the ultimate spoiler, so I talked the Seattle Times into letting me do their Stephen King reviews.
Oh,
And then I came back, and now it was computer games I couldn't afford. So I called them up and said, "Hey, I'm on your, you can see I write for you guys. What would you think of a review of virtual haunted houses for Halloween?" And so I got Alone in the Dark, which by far was my favorite. Alone in the Dark
I
was
knew you were going to mention that, so I just
there. You go. You
that.
knew that was coming, huh?
Yeah, I'm just psychic, I guess.
So is that an unopened?
Somehow I knew this was going to come up, so I just had it.
Is that an unopened Alone in the Dark?
No, it's not shrink wrapped.
Oh, okay. That was a.
I'm not that rich.
Have you ever played it?
Alone in the Dark, sure.
I
It's
mean, when you start out in that
Remake,
attic, and
Raynal, I think so. Yeah, it's
and
pretty
there's the
scary.
yeah, there's the werewolf outside the window, and the zombie starts to come out the floor. I mean, that was all new to me. Oh, did I love that?
Yeah, I've read a little article about that game one time and how they kind of use some conventions of horror films.
Oh yeah,
They're making the game, and I forget what they call it now. It's been a while, but there's something like the Dutch angle, I think, or a certain way you film a horror thing so you can see the monster creeping up on the person, but the person can't see the monster.
yeah.
Something like that, you know. But I
It
watch a
it
lot of
would
horror films and I never really thought too much about how they actually scare you. And it's a lot of this camera work, uh, camera techniques basically, and then they use that in the game, which
they
that
did.
was like when did that come out?
1993
1993.
or probably 92.
Yeah. I mean, I still find it pretty scary today.
Yeah,
I think
but you and I are old enough so that um, the blocky graphics still reach us. You know, um, and Alone in the Dark, it gets kind of over the top by the time you get to the end. It went from subtle horror to pure H.P. Lovecraft, which is wonderful if you're an H.P. Lovecraft guy, and not quite as exciting if you're not.
somebody's not an H.P. Lovecraft fan. Come on. Yeah, I was trying to find some pictures of Alone in the Dark. I think there'd be a bunch. I guess there's a newer game. Oh, and a movie.
The movie was by Uwe Boll.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
You know what? To meet
Yeah.
him is to love him.
Yeah, my assistant producer, he's a big Bowl fan. He's wrote a book about him and he's always talking to him. And yeah, he really likes him too.
Like I say, if you when you actually meet him, he's charming. He's got a uh, self-deprecating sense of humor. He's he's a nice guy. I liked him. I liked him a lot. It's funny because when I interviewed him, I was all loaded for bear to dislike him and attack him.
Why?
And the
Why were
more
you? Why didn't you? Why were you like that?
because his movies sucked. I mean, his movies really, well, the vast majority of them. But in his view, what he was doing was he knew people would come for movies that were based on games, and so he cranked them out quickly. And he did a movie on the life of Max Baer, for instance. And I boxed in high school, and Uber boxed. I think he probably went far further in boxing than I ever did. So he put his heart into doing that Max Baer one, doing it well. The Schmeling, oh, excuse me, not Max Baer, Max Schmeling, 2010. And I actually found that movie pretty good, pretty touching.
I like to watch so-called bad movies.
Well, so
So yeah,
so
this is right on
Mr.
my.
Wool has quite a few of those, but
I
but
don't know you like to box. There's a bunch of stuff about you I don't know. So how far did
yeah.
you get with boxing?
Uh, so I did some boxing. I was never a champion or anything like that at all, but I trained and fought in high school. And then in 2000, right after my 40th birthday, Codemasters had a boxing tournament for game journalists, international though. And it was funny because a bunch of us entered it without mentioning that perhaps we had been trained before.
Oh.
So you had Ryan McDonald, who had been a coach in the police athletic league. You had Tom Ham, who is a big, strong guy who competed in Tong Soo Do.
Oh, yeah.
And I slipped in there kind of unnoticed. I was the old man anyways. And um, it came down to Ryan and me, or it was coming down to Ryan and me, and Ryan would have absolutely crushed me. Except that he threw his shoulder out of joint in his second to last fight. And so the poor guy he was beating the hell out of I ended up going up against him. And by this time, Codemasters had not expected to see all the carnage they saw. People hit in the groin, guy
Oh,
with a broken nose, Ryan getting rushed off to the hospital with his
Jesus. What
arm
kind of
out of the
waiver did you
socket.
have to sign for the?
We had to sign one. And so they came up to me and said, "Do you like this guy? The guy is going to fight." And I said, "Yeah, I like him a lot." And they said, "Do you want to hurt him? Because he didn't belong in boxing at all." And I said, "No, I'd never want to hurt him." And they said, "What would you think about doing rock, paper, scissors with him instead of boxing him?" And I said, "I would love to do rock, paper, scissors with him." So I ended up winning the tournament because I went for rock when he went for scissors.
Nice. I think
But
it'd have been more fun. What they should have done is have the game journalists go up against the studios whose games they bashed.
well, that's what Uber did.
That would be scary.
Because that's what Uber did. He brought in 4 or 5 journalists who'd been mercilessly bashing his movies, and he fought them all in one night. The way George Foreman had fought 6 guys to show that he had endurance. And
That'd
you
be quite
know,
satisfying.
yeah, he was most of them were mad because they didn't take it seriously that he was actually going to go out there and hit them, and hit them he did.
I bet you've probably got a few stories about people you reviewed their stuff and then they didn't take it well.
You know, I
It
could be
never got
nasty
too
at
bad.
times.
I mean, how nasty did it get? I mean, was
Oh,
it
I got nasty,
you got nasty? Yeah.
my reviews, my view originally was that if the game isn't entertaining, then my review should be more entertaining than the game.
Okay.
And so there was a company in particular where I said, in my review, I said they don't publish games. They purge their vault of heavy-handed, minimally interactive, politically correct slop. And that was pretty mean. Well, then one day I get a phone call and it's the head of that
The glove
company.
was dropped.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the head of the company, and I'm testing the game when he called. So I put the phone on my shoulder and let him yell at me while I played my game. And at some point, while he was yelling at me, he said, "That wasn't a review. That was a personal attack." And I paused the game and picked up the phone and said, "No, man, that wasn't a personal attack. I didn't say anything about your hair." And he hung up on me after that. I don't blame him one bit. If I ran into him today, I would apologize because
It's
you
a
get full
bad
of
sign
yourself.
if you're a developer going after the reviewers, that's never a good
Well,
sign.
so here's an example of why it really is important. When the GameCube came out, I don't think it was only GameCube. I think that the GameCube, the 360, and the PS3 or PS2. PS2 were out. Whatever it was. I put out a list of the 5 worst games for the new systems. No, it was the original Xbox. And it was GameCube, original Xbox, and PlayStation 2. And yeah, I went after a bunch of games that were 5 games that were bad. The one I went after the most was Universal Studios theme park game, which really, truly was a horrible game. And I mean, it was a game where in order to go to some of the attractions, you had to have money. So one of the ways you got money was walking around Universal Studios, picking up trash and throwing it away.
That's what's not fun about that?
Yeah. So that was a
Turkey.
pretty dreadful game, actually. But one of the games I went after was Wake. Oh,
Wake.
Blood Wake.
Oh, Blood Wake.
Which was a car combat game, only in this case you were in hydrofoils and speedboats. And when Xbox was first looking at launching, they made it one of their key things. When you went to their booth at E3, for instance, you'd see all these Blood Wake, TVs that were showing it, and it looked fabulous. And then when I played it, I really got frustrated because when you'd be badly hurt and you'd be going for a power up and you'd be speeding towards it, and a wave would come and you'd fly right over it. And I just found the mechanics very frustrating. I didn't think that car combat gameplay went well with the mechanics of Blood Wake. And so I included it in my list of 5 worst games. And one of the developers of it sent me an email saying, "Hey, look, we don't belong on this list." And, yes, there are things
it's
we
your
need
opinion. What is it? Wow.
But he said, "Look, we know that there are things we need to fix, but it's a good game." And I sent him back a text or an email saying, "Hey, I appreciate your contacting me, and we're going to have to agree to disagree." And then the next day, they had a contract for Blood Wake 2, and the next day that contract fell through, and the studio imploded. And the guy was nice enough to send me an email the next day saying, "Hey, look, this happened. I want you to know it wasn't your fault."
Yeah.
But what a going away present I gave him with that nasty review. After that, I never got as nasty again because I learned my lesson. Those are people. They're doing things and they're working hard, and I couldn't do what they do.
You're being
And
nice
that
to
was a
people
great
out of
idea.
compassion.
Excuse me?
I said, you're being nice to people for compassion. I'm nice to people because I'm scared.
Well,
I mean, you could just box them if they got too nasty with you, but
now I'm
yeah, but I know
65 years old. I can't box anybody.
I remember when I was talking to, I think it was Chris Taylor.
Lovely man.
Yeah, he really got to me with his stories. He's just talking about having to lay people off and like just the human side of that. And it really kind of got to me like, well, I'm not this high profile reviewer, but in my own small way, I'm impacting real people's lives here.
Yeah.
That's a responsibility I don't want to take lightly.
Yeah. Chris Taylor is a fabulous guy. Lovely, lovely guy. I once did an article. You can still find it on, I think it's IGN. It was called, or you can, if you Google Game of the Century and Stephen L. Kent, it was a
The
April
Vavatron
Fool's Day
story?
prank.
Let's see if I got the right one here.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Vavatron.
That was an April Fool's Day prank. That was actually really started with Chris Charla and Mike Micah at Digital Eclipse. And then I sort of just ran off with it and had fun with it. It was the story of the most cursed game in the history of video games.
No healthy IP for the back end. I never even heard of this game.
And to help me write it, I got Chris Taylor and
Oh, I see. It's a well, you told me it was an April Fool's joke. I didn't
yeah.
quite get the full context of that. So
So
this was just a made up game.
yeah, well, so Digital Eclipse made up a game that had 80s style gameplay. It didn't have 80s style graphics. Um, and so I got Chris Taylor and and Will Wright, and there was a third one. Well, and other people participated. Eugene Jarvis participated in it, and Eddie Adlam participated in it. And I told them what the story would be about, and then they told me their view of, if they were there, this is what they would have said or would have done. And it was I had so much fun with that project.
I see. I'm not sure if Avatron qualifies as the freaking edifice tracks of arcade history. That's unlucky. Chris Taylor still describes it as cursed.
Eddie Adlam from Replay Magazine participated. David Rosen, who just passed away, participated. They all knew I was perpetrating a hoax, and they all just chipped in to make it fun.
Wow. This would have been, when was this? 2012. Okay. I was thinking this would be a hell of a meme. There must be tons of memes floating around about this. Wow. The Bamatron story.
Yeah.
Well, so we got about an hour there. How you doing on time? We got time for a couple more things to
Yeah, fire away.
talk
This is
about.
fun.
I wanted to get, well, let me just show these other books you did here. I got the,
So that's actually the same thing as the Ultimate History of Video Games. When I first wrote it, no publisher would take it.
yeah.
Like, I sent it around. The saddest one was Algonquin, because my editor at Popular Science was related to one of the top editors at Algonquin. And so they said, send it over. So I sent, they put me in touch with the editor, and she said, send it over. And it came back with just a boilerplate rejection. And I called up and said, hey, how come I got this rejection? And the editor's assistant said, well, we don't comment on unsolicited rejections for unsolicited materials. And I said, who said this was unsolicited? The editor asked me to send it. So they said, oh, and had me send it back again. Then this time they said, wow, you've got something here. We're very interested. And then the owner of the publisher walked by one day and said, what's that? And they said, well, it's, this book on the history of video games. And he said the same thing everyone else was saying. He wasn't the first to say it. He said, people who play games don't read books. So they ended up rejecting me after all that. So I ended up self-publishing. My father Amazon had just started taking self-published books. They weren't digital, they were print. But if you printed up a book and you took it to Amazon, and you could put it on Amazon, they would keep, I think, 55% of the sale, and you got 45%. And for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I was the fastest selling self-published book they ever had.
nice.
And then, but this was very early on, and much, much, much bigger books eclipsed me thereafter.
It's tough to find this one, actually.
It's
You had to eBay this thing.
It's self-published, edited by me, and I'm dyslexic. So want to take a wild guess how many typos and errors there are per page?
I was wondering why it was called the first Quattro.
And
Oh, 2000.
then
Yeah.
And then on top of that,
So this is a collector's item here. Okay.
yeah. And then a guy from, I think, the University of Colorado, maybe not the University of Colorado. Anyways, a guy sent in a errata, and there were a lot of errors. There were, things. So now, some of the errors, a lot of my errors come from the interviews themselves.
Right.
And, if that's how people remember things, I'm going to put it in the way they remember. One of the real standards for my writing is that if you let me interview you, I will present your case exactly as you present it to me. So that the reader feels like they've met you and they've heard you say your side of things. Sometimes that works out really well for people. Ray Kassar is the best example. I was the last interview he gave before he passed away. Ray Kassar, on the one hand,
He took over Atari after.
yeah, he became the president of Atari after Nolan Bushnell left.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, you have to give Ray a lot of credit because he was the one who looked at arcade games and said, you know what, these are bestsellers. We need to put them inside. We need to start selling their cartridges based on them. People will get really excited. That was his idea. It was a good idea. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, he made it more than a share of errors, and he owned up to a lot of them in our interview. But one thing he said was that no, we never buried cartridges in the desert in New Mexico. And so I presented it. I presented it exactly as he told me, all in quotes. Then I presented, the opposite, where people said, "Oh yeah, we did that. I saw those trucks rumbling out, and then of course now they found the burial."
Wow.
So, but I presented it as he told me.
So people are blaming you like it's your error.
Well, some of them are, and some of them aren't.
Like, this is what he told me.
Yeah.
Why are you coming? Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, some of the things I hear, one of the complaints on my book that I hear a lot is, where are all the computer games? And the answer is, this is the ultimate history of video games. I actually, originally, this was supposed to be called the Electric Playground, and then it was video games, and then I was going to release another one, Electric Playground Computer Games. One, there are people who know the history of computer games so much better than I do. And two, anyways, what happened was, one of the companies that turned me down on this book was Prima Publishing. And then when the book did really well as a self-published book with all kinds of errors in it, they called back and said, we'd like to buy it. And so I sold it to them. We went through that errata page, or that errata list. It was a lot more than one page, item by item. Some things we disagreed with him about.
Yeah.
Most things we agreed and were grateful for his help. They also had a professional proofreader who had the monumental task of combing out all my typos and things like that. Because typos, missing words, those poor people had to go through a lot. But
you can't help it. I mean, no matter how good you are, there's going to be little errors that creep in.
Well, 600 pages too.
Nobody's perfect. Yeah, I don't mind. I get a lot of the errata stuff too from people. I hate it when the only thing they harp on in the review is like the one error.
Well,
can't you talk about some stuff you liked about the book too? Or just
that happens a lot. What happens is, you have people who want to be the high priest of video game history. That's what they want to be. And so the way they try to do that is by attacking the people who got there first. Okay. So I did this big, long story when my book came out, not the Ultimate History, but the first quarter. When it came out, MSNBC hired me to do like a 10-page history of video games for their site.
Right.
And somebody else went, not me, my editor actually went and looked through found the art for it. He found it himself off the internet and put it all on. And unfortunately, he took a picture of some kids playing in television and put a caption about the Atari 2600. And some of these high priests of video games,
yeah.
their entire response to my article is, well, I wouldn't trust a review, a history from somebody who doesn't know the difference between a 2600 and a television.
Oh, yeah.
I also once saw a
I
review
know
from,
exactly the type.
yeah, I once saw a review from somebody who said he wouldn't, and this is a quote, he said he wouldn't wipe his ass with my book. And I sent him a thank you. I'm glad my book was spared that indignity.
It is kind of a compliment, you know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. I don't know about you. It gets to me when somebody really just tears into something I worked hard on, you know.
Well, it hurts, but one, let's be honest, on a certain level, my attitude towards reviewing earned me some of that. You know,
I was so excited, you know, when I wrote my first book, that Dungeons and Desktops book, and it came out that there's going to be a review of it, a full page review, and I think it was PC Gamer magazine, you know. So I'm like subscribed, looking for it. Can't wait to read this review, you know. And the guy I mean, it was like I had attacked his family somehow. I mean, just so brutal with that review, and I'm just like, oh, what did I do to this guy?
Yeah. Like I say, so many of these people think
where
that
does that come from, you know?
so many of them think that it's a fast draw contest, that you're the old fastest gun in the West, and they think for some reason shooting you down is going to increase their stock, and it's a little pathetic. It really is.
It really is, Jen. You talk to the people, the real pros are never like that.
No. Yeah, no, they're not.
But,
yeah.
I forgot what I was kind of drifting a little bit, but I wanted to ask you about some. I know you said that you're more of a historian than a fortune teller.
Oh boy, yes.
You're better at history than but there's so much stuff going on now. You know, you're working on the new volume, so I assume you'll be covering some of this stuff. But all this business with the AI and the NVIDIA,
AI won't fit into the new volume at all.
You're not going to.
Not even going to touch it.
Well, just what are your thoughts on it? Its impact on the industry and
there are mistakes you make that you have to make. Doing it is a bad move, but you have to do it. Once the genie was out of that bottle, there was no closing the bottle. You've now got the tiger by the tail, and holding a tiger by the tail is dangerous, but letting go means it can turn around and eat you. It's funny because I remember when Gary Kasparov was first he had a really tough game with Deep Blue, and then eventually Deep Blue left him in the blue. and we all looked and said, well, cool, isn't that amazing? Never stopping to think, wait, it could do to us what it just did to that chess player.
Yeah.
And I think actors and Hollywood, which, they feel very insulated, I think a lot of them looked at what was going on with other people with AI and thought, good old AI, but it'll never reach our door.
Right.
And, now it's not just knocking on their door, it's trying to claw its way through. And I don't like where AI is taking us. I look at a lot of technology. Frankly, I look at technology and I see. Are you familiar with the term house odds?
Yeah, sure. Like a
Okay,
gambling thing, right? The
it's a
casino.
gambling thing. It's if
House
you
always wins.
what doesn't always win. That's the thing. The house odd. If you take a look, you can pick on a roulette wheel. You can pick red or black, right?
All right.
And if the ball lands on red or black, that's a 50-50. Except there's one, I think it's the double zero hole that's neither red nor black. That's the house odd. That's the
Oh,
thing. A house odd is just a little sliver. But when you think about when billions and billions of dollars are flowing through, that little sliver is quite a living. And I think with technology, there's been incredibly great things have come by technology. I wrote a book on a computer. With my dyslexia, I could never have written that book with a pen, and I could never have edited it with a typewriter. Never, never in a million years. Um, I played video games. I I could never have been a good football player, but thanks to Madden and Blitz, I got
mm,
to play football. I would be too big a chicken to go in a haunted house, but thanks to Alone in the Dark and The Seventh Guest, I got to explore haunted houses. I mean, I got to swim with sharks. I got to do all kinds of amazing things. I got to fly. I got to collect coins. Just so many wonderful things. And, uh, you know, um, my mom's in Hawaii and she's very old. Thanks to technology, I can call her a couple of times a day to check in on her and see how she's doing. Thanks to technology, we don't die because we had a hangnail that gets infected. And yet, I think when you look at the whole breadth of everything good and bad that has come from technology, for instance, wars with nuclear weapons, um, I think that the house odds are on the bad side. I think that there's that thin sliver of more bad than there is of good. And I especially feel that way about um, artificial intelligence.
oh, that was epic, Steve. That was epic. Yeah, I was. It's been impacting everything I do. Because I'm a professor by trade or profession. Professor by profession.
Where do you teach?
St. Cloud State here in Minnesota.
Okay.
And I teach a lot of writing classes. And this is the all my colleagues are just so terrified by this idea that the students are just going to use AI to write all their essays for them. And we're not even allowed to go after them if we suspect that that's what they're doing. And I think the ones that have thought more about it are even saying maybe we don't even, maybe we won't even, maybe we'll be obsolete because nobody will need to learn how to write since they can use the AI for that. So I'm kind of more immersed in it. I try to have a more of a nuanced view of all this stuff, but there's a lot of terrified instructors out there and students who are. I find a lot of students are actually more resistant to it than you might think. The stereotype is, of course, they're going to cheat. That the reality is, a lot of them are. They don't want to be associated with it at all because they think this will taint them somehow. You've done it.
When
You've written. You've edited. You've done all this stuff. I mean,
when
you
I
can
did
probably
a
see the
book,
appeal of it, but at the same time, like you're saying with the house odds, that yeah, maybe it's got some benefits, but well, this negative side is it sort of poisoned?
yeah, what I did a book on the making of Doom 3.
Oh, funny
And
you should mention that.
wow, you really do have my books.
I don't have the
And
Final Fantasy one. This one's fantastic, by the way. I mean, the
thank you.
graphic design on this. I
So
mean, it's really colorful.
as you know, this was published by McGraw-Hill,
Yeah, thanks for the
and
publisher.
which is a mostly educational books. Wait, no, Final Fantasy. Who's the publisher on that one? Hang on,
This one's
because
McGraw. This
Final
one's McGraw.
Fantasy was
I don't
McGraw
have the
Hill.
Final Fantasy one. This is McGraw Hill that did this one.
Oh, okay, so it was McGraw Hill. Okay, so they do educational books, and part of the book was I got to do a novelization or a novelization of the Doom 3 script.
Hmm.
And as I was writing it, it's a Doom book, so I don't particularly like to use the F word. Um, in fact, I find that word.
You're a good Christian man. You don't talk
I,
like that.
I find that word to be a little distasteful. So,
Oh,
but I had lots of dams and hells and some shits in there too. Um, and so then and my editor kept on calling up and saying, "Can we take this word out? Can we take that word out?" And then, of course, he came to the part where the character finds the BFG, and he goes, "Can we just go back to shits and dams?"
BFG. Yeah, those guys are far from politically correct.
Can I read you something I'm really proud of?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, this is for one page, for just one page of writing. This is probably the one thing I've written, the one single page I'm most proud of. Do you mind?
Do I mind? Go ahead.
Okay, it's
You got it.
not actually about video games, but I'm so proud of this. You just bear with me just for a second.
The build up here is amazing, man.
Oh, you're very kind. Okay, so I'm looking for it now. And let's see, browse and desktop, Costco fiction. Yeah, it's got to be under fiction projects.
I wonder how many words you've written in your career.
Oh, you don't even want to know. It's yeah, it's
Donkey bites words.
crazy. It's crazy how much I've written in my life. File name. Yeah, I gotta find this one because I think you'll get a kick out of this thing. Give me one more second on this. I'm sorry that I'm not more prepared. Resumes from college recipe.
Well, that's the beauty of editing.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Stuff it all out.
More woke.
The magnum opus.
Here we go. Found it. Found it. Third World War. Let's try this one. Okay. Here we go. I think you'll get a kick out of this. I hope you will. Dedication. This book is dedicated to the F bomb, a word I seldom speak in public, but repeat frequently on the pages to follow. Here's why I'm dedicating this book to that awful, awful word. It has evolved into a shadow of its former self. Traced to its earliest roots, F.K was a verb, an action word with lurid connotations that intertwined sex and anger. Somewhere along the way, it became a nonsensible adjective used to convey hostility or annoyance. But when I read, "This is my effing country," I need additional context to know if the writer feels ashamed or patriotic. Like other viruses, the F word continues to evolve. Having succeeded as an adjective, it repackaged itself as a nebulous adverb that intensifies meaningful adverbs. In the sentence, "You sing so effing great," great does all the work while effing simply goes along for the ride. In its latest permutation, the F word serves as little more than filler. It provides a cadence similar to saying only with purpose. Ironically, in today's vernacular, comments like, "I effing wish I never met my effing girlfriend," may reflect the lack of sexual intimacy. So
Mm-hmm.
here's to you, F word. You are salt that has lost its savor. You are the vocabularic equivalent of a radioactive isotope that has survived too many half-lives. You were toxic once. Now you're merely disagreeable.
Nice. Yeah, I think if I was going to grade that, if you were a student of mine, I just read across the top. F and A.
Thank you. I would take that.
Ah, that's almost like next to the etymology of this word that you don't even like to use it.
Nope. But so
Yeah, I
that
don't
was a
ever use it either. I
sci-fi.
try not to use it.
That was a sci-fi novel I was writing, a military sci-fi, and I really, really, really wanted to make you feel like you were there.
Hmm.
And if you've got soldiers running around saying, "Oh, f this" or "f that" instead of the whole thing, that puts a layer of separation there.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that.
Yeah, my grandpa, he fought in the Korean War. And because we watched this, he didn't like war movies very much, but one thing he would always complain about was that they use the F word or really any cussing at all. He'd be like, that's so unrealistic. We never talk like that. Nobody ever used those words.
Huh?
So I'm like, okay, I mean, that's what he says, but I wasn't there.
Yeah, I wasn't there either.
I find it
I've
hard
got
to believe you wouldn't cuss a little bit, somebody shooting at you. I mean,
yeah. Well, I talked to a number of people.
better men than me.
I
That's
I
true.
talked to a number of people from the Vietnam War and uh, one person who's always helped me, consulted with me as I worked on my novels, especially these military sci-fis you're looking at there,
Yeah,
was a
these are the ones.
retired Marine colonel.
Oh, okay.
And I run, of course, in these I didn't have the F word in these because um, they're taking place in 500 years in the future. And so I simply took the F word out and put in um, the word spec instead.
I could
And
use
that
that.
led to all kinds of great puns, like Marines never speculate; they always spec you right on time, and things like that. And
That's a
yeah,
good one. Yeah, they did that with Battlestar Galactica too, right?
yeah, exactly. That was
Rack.
frankly, that was where I got the idea.
I think it's a good impulse. I think because we don't know what the cuss words are going to be.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I got away with it. The
I just like
sci-fi
the
novels sold really well, and at one point,
Yeah.
a
Which one do you want
friend who
to?
is
Is there one you want to
also
talk about in particular, or where should people get started if they want to dive into your
oh,
fiction?
well, the first one was called The Clone Republic.
Let's see. Where is it?
And
Oh, here's
at
the.
one point, a friend of mine an who was also involved in pictures at Sony Pictures pitched the idea that they needed to do a movie based on this particular book with a young actor named Dwayne Johnson, who was just coming over from wrestling.
Whoa.
Breaks my heart to this day that never happened.
Oh, The Rock.
You know,
It's 2508 AD. So what do we got here? I haven't read any of your novels.
oh well,
Nice
I'm
anyway,
pretty
or
proud of this one. I liked it. I
so these are
enjoyed it a
like
lot.
Space Marines or independent straight out of boot camp. Oh.
The whole world was based on this idea that humans created clone soldiers because they didn't want to have to deal with parents when their kids died.
Oh, it's kind
But
of.
the problem was the clones could realize they're not quite human and rebel against the humans. So to prevent that, they put a gland in the clones' heads that had what was called a death reflex. If you found out you're a clone, it gets released and it kills you. That way they could never rebel.
Oh,
But and so these novels are being told from the point of view of a guy who's pretty sure he's a clone.
but doesn't know.
Well, does he want to know? You know,
Because if he finds out, he'll be.
he knows about the death reflex.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a really good story to me. So
They
how many of these have you done?
10.
Oh, okay. So you might be better known for these than you are the video game stuff at this
I
point.
was for a while. For a while, I was much better known for those, but The last one of those came out in, I think, 2012 or 13. And so,
Whoa.
now they're just pretty much on Kindle. Um,
Oh, you can get the audio, an audio CD.
those audios were well, or you from Audible, you can get the the MP3s as well. They were at so graphic audio didn't do a narration of them. They hired a cast and did special effects and even created a Weiss and Harris theme and did dramatic productions of them. And those were incredible bestsellers.
But that was I'm just imagining as a writer, as an author, how awesome that must have been to experience that.
It was pretty exciting. It was fun. What was really fun was those graphic audio books were especially popular with truck drivers. You could pick them up for $10 or $12, and you pop the CDs in and you listen to them as you drove. And so, if I was driving across country and I went to any of these truck stop gas stations, they'd have all of my books.
I've come a long way since Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
CB dramatized that up. So you can buy this, looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, you can buy the MP3.
Well, maybe has there been any more talk about maybe making this into a movie? Or
No, they're long dead now.
I'm kind of surprised you wouldn't want to make it into a game.
I did. I
Oh,
got a
there is a
nasty,
game.
I got a nasty reputation and a wake-up call as I was working on Ultimate History 2. I pitched the idea of making this into a game to not not everyone I spoke to, but more than a few of the executives I talked to. And I thought, it can't hurt. And then when I was interviewed by Paul Semmel, who um, he and I were never good friends when we were journalists side by side. And I was a little surprised he offered to interview me on Ultimate History too. But a number of his questions were purposely nasty. And
Oh,
one of his questions was, about, were you actually writing the book, or were you just trying to find ways to pimp your game, basically? And well,
what?
he wasn't entirely wrong. I think people said, "Hey, did Kent pitch his book to you too?" And they're like, "Oh, you got that too, huh?" And so Paul heard about it and decided to rub my nose in a little bit.
Oh, I mean, all I can say is just from my experience, just how difficult it is with fiction.
Fiction is
I
tough.
can write Dungeons and Desktops if I wanted to do, not to brag, if I wanted to do another edition of this, no problem. I'll just tell the publisher what I want to do. We're off to the races.
Yeah,
The creative stuff I try to do, I'm like, please, will anybody just look at one paragraph of it? I mean, they just do not have any time. And I get a
yeah.
lot of that same stuff you were talking about with the gamers don't read. They want to play games, not read, and blah blah blah
Well,
blah.
but take a look. The Halo books. I think
Yeah.
a Halo novel went #1 on the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah, I mean, all the gamers I know personally, they read a lot. And I'm a
Yeah,
gamer. I read. I'm a freaking English professor.
the the
There's not a
the
problem with you can play a game, you can read a novel. I
the
don't know
Mass
why.
Effect books have sold really well.
The
Um,
Baldur's Gate has a good novel, and
Baldur's Gate, Baldur's Gate, the game is practically a novel. I mean,
practically.
it's got so much depth to it.
I mean, look at that Skyrim game. I feel like you spend about half the time reading,
Yeah.
virtual books within that universe.
Well, and I think that a game like Skyrim stimulates part of the same part of your head, of your brain, that novels do. You're imagining things, maybe not as much as a Dungeons and Dragons game does, but take you wrote you wrote your book. You know as well as I do that Dungeons and Dragons books typically sell incredible. Like the Bibles sell really well.
I mean, I freaking love those. I guess I should say effing or however you want to say that. Love those books by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman about Dragonlance.
Yeah,
They come out with a new version of those. They're like the leather bound, the dragon, whenever those comes out. Uh, uh, yeah, so that's just a natural marriage to me.
I
I
agree.
don't always want to be reading while I'm playing a game, but that's what I read the novel for. Kind of.
Well, and the other thing you could do in the novels that I don't know if anybody's done, and I think it's a shame they haven't, is you write the novel and you put some Easter eggs, you identify some Easter eggs in the game in the novel, and then the reader can go play the game and look for those Easter eggs. And I think that would be a really, as you say, a wonderful marriage.
Yeah, I just was reading that chapter about I think it was Xbox. Oh, I might be getting the wrong platform here. There was that I Love Bees.
Yes.
Uh, what do you call that even? A marketing gimmick?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And I Love Bees was genius.
yeah,
I
this was
mean,
really
sheer
clever
genius.
marketing. It's way better than the other thing they were trying to do with the was it
Yeah.
MTV or something?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The MTV one. But,
I
you
wonder if
know,
people know what I Love Bees is nowadays.
probably not. You um,
It's got its own
the,
Wikipedia page. Wow.
the I did a whole lot dedicated, not a whole lot, but several pages dedicated to the to Michael campaign, our commercial for PlayStation, PlayStation 3. Do you remember that commercial?
Which one?
To Michael. That's where these two soldiers go into what's basically like a Star Wars bar. And when they're inside this bar, they see characters from all these big PS3 games.
Let's
And,
think I might have
and
it here.
they're all talking about how, I was falling out of a plane and he saved me. I was in a town. Half the people hated me, the other half wanted me dead, but he got me through. I was on Normandy. Yeah, this one. Best commercial. There have been a lot of good video game commercials, but nothing has ever equaled this.
Yeah, Sony, they must always had this artistic, creative, sort of innovative side,
Yeah,
willingness to
I would
fund
say
stuff.
Sega. On the most part, I preferred Sega's old advertising to Sony's. But this one, that one's on a new level, a different level than anything you've ever seen in a video game commercial.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I've seen it.
Oh, you got to watch that. You really have to watch that.
I'll cue it up. Wow, we've
Yeah.
covered a lot of stuff here, Steve.
Cue it up for your if you can, or at least put a link on it for your viewers because that's
Oh,
a
I
good
can do
commercial.
that. Yeah, that's easy to do. What happened to my? But anyway, I don't want to keep you
So,
tied up all day here.
how about just out of curiosity, favorite arcade game?
Oh, I'm kind of weird about my favorite arcade game. I really like Bubble Bobble,
It's a great game.
but that's only if I've got a person with me to play
That
it.
makes sense too.
Two player. I always liked the game Green Beret or Russian Attack. No, I don't know anybody else that really likes that, but
I've
I
got
thought
into
that
Russian Attack. It's hard.
yeah, there's something about the music and the sounds and everything, and the like. You start off with just a little knife, I kind of like that. And
well, I mean, it was basically Castlevania for the Cold War.
what else do I? Well, of course, Gauntlet. That's another really fun one.
Ed Logg at his best.
Yeah, I don't know if I just, I've often thought about that. If I just, like you were talking about, if you just had the one machine, what would you want it to be? Oh man, it'd be tough. Are you like this when you go to one of these big arcades? the sort of retro arcade type stuff. Do you find yourself playing the pinball games more than the
No.
video games? I've always
I
just kind
would
of
never play
fascinated with the
pinball in
pinball.
public.
I'm always just kind of fascinated by those pinball machines. It's just like all the little electronics and stuff inside them and
They
balls and
had
stuff.
two pinball machines at id when I was doing the making of Doom 3. And they got one look of how bad I was at pinball and pretty much dismissed me as an amateur.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of fun with the X-Men. It was an arcade, like one sort of a gauntlet like
Sure.
setup, 4 players, and we played
But
those.
side scrolling.
Yeah, it was like a beat 'em up kind of a game.
Yeah.
But I probably put just quarter for quarter. I probably put more quarters into that.
Were you Wolverine or who did you like?
I like the Nightcrawler.
Okay.
Yeah,
You like to be able to move ahead, to
yeah.
dash ahead like that.
Oh, we forgot about Mortal Kombat too. That was
Have you
another
seen the
great.
new movie?
No, I've heard it's really good though.
It's a huge improvement over the last one, the one they released during COVID.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
I like the
that
one from back in the '90s. I still like that soundtrack. Still gets me pumped up and all that.
that first game, that first movie they did was good.
Mhm.
It was silly, it was stupid, and it knew it was silly and stupid and reveled in it.
Another
Um,
favorite. I like Joust a lot too. With the
oh, that's a hard game.
Yeah, but I love that theme. It's
Mm,
kind of a fantasy like theme.
yeah.
So I guess you probably would say Tempest, right? Or is there?
Well, so Tempest is the game I wish I was best at and I certainly lost a trillion quarters in it. But if I could only own one game, it would be Super Puzzle Fighter, unquestionably.
Yeah, this one of the guys that got me into this racket was a big fan of Robotron.
Okay,
Yeah,
Eugene Jarvis.
yeah, he liked Robotron. I guess he probably still does. And Dragon's Lair, which to me, that's more of like a technologically, artistically, Stan Bluth, all that is awesome. But just as far as wanting to sit there and play that, I don't know how you.
It was a multiple choice test. It wasn't a video game in my view.
Yeah, I don't
You
get
get
the appeal
A
of that.
turn right, B turn left, C go up, D press the button.
I mean, I'd
Um,
rather watch a YouTube video of just like the cartoon footage. That'd be entertaining.
if you ever want to see what I consider to be of the technological masterpiece, the opus magnum of Game Boy Color,
Hmm.
Digitally Clips released Dragon's Lair for the Game Boy Color. It had every level. It
Well, this is
was
the guys that are doing those, like the Karateka game, and
they like to bring things back.
so they brought this out for the Game Boy Color. Okay.
Yeah, I consider it a masterpiece. I also, by the way, consider Mike Micah to be, kind of an unsung hero for American gaming, especially for people who like retro gaming.
Oh,
It was you had
full motion video on the Game Boy
yeah,
Color. Wow.
yeah, and the sound was bad, but it's a Game Boy Color game or cartridge. How much can you fit on it? They fit an entire laser disc on it.
Yeah, I should talk to Micah. Sounds like if
You
he's.
should talk to Mike Micah. You absolutely should talk to
I've
Mike
talked to
Micah.
some of the Digital Eclipse guys, but I don't. And I'd hate to be sitting here saying I haven't met this guy. I've actually interviewed him at some point.
You should.
You ever forget that you interviewed somebody? No, that was Stephen Frost, and I talked to Stephen Frost and Ian Sherman.
Okay.
So those are guys are from Digital Eclipse. So Micah is the founder.
I don't know. I think so. I could be wrong. But I first ran into Mike Micah when he was a reporter at Next Generation magazine. And he stood out again, like in the same way that Ed Fries does. It's no surprise to me that Ed Fries and Mike Micah are friends. Because they have a pure love and an appreciation for the old and the new games.
Yeah, that makes a big difference, I find. And always, I talk to a lot of people, a lot of developers, and they'll say, "Well, I don't actually play games. I don't like playing the games. I just like making them." Or, I just run the business, that sort of thing. And I'm always,
That's not Mike Micah.
oh, I don't know about this. I
Well, what
like
do
the
you think
guys,
about
like you
what's
talk to
going?
John Romero, and he just gets so excited about games. I mean, like,
Yeah,
makes you want to play them too.
what do you think about what's going on at Xbox right now?
What
With
is
Asha
going on?
Swarma, the new head of Xbox.
Well, you know more about that than I do.
Oh, she openly admits she's not a gamer and she's never worked in games. She came from AI.
The biggest thing for me is I was going to actually ask you what your thoughts on these new and upcoming consoles. I've always been more of a PC side of it.
I'm very worried for the whole video game industry. You remember we were talking about mistakes you have to make?
All right.
Um, back in the 90s, when we made the jump from NES to Super NES and Genesis,
Mm.
one of the first things we talked about is the game looks so much better than they used to. And so finding better graphics and faster frame rates and things like that became a big thing. Well, now they're really addicted into that. Analogy time. I'm sorry about all my analogies. Here in Washington State, we're big for apples. We are to apples what Idaho is to potatoes. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s or 90s, they found that glossy apples attracted customers better, attracted customers. So they've started making the apples glossier and glossier and glossier. And at some point, Washington got a bad reputation for having really pretty apples that don't taste good.
Mm.
And Washington apples became unpopular for a while. And on top of that, it was even more hurt because once you'd followed that path so long, you can't just pull out some 20-year-old seed and start planting it. They had to regress and restart. And the apple
Wow.
industry here was really badly hurt. And I think the same thing has happened with video games. So people want bigger, longer, they want speech, they want cinematic. The focus on gameplay, like the focus on sweet apples, fell by the way quite a bit. The point being, where it really is going to hurt the game industry is Switch 2 games are $80 right now. And there's a lot of talk that they're really meant to go up to 120. PlayStation 6, the talk with the new Steam boxes that look like they're coming out. The talk is they'll be over $1,000. And you know, as I understand it, Rockstar has confirmed that the new the new Grand Theft Auto is going to cost them over $1 billion to make, but the rumor is it's closer to 3 or 4 billion, maybe even 5. And so the price just keeps going up and up and up. And at some point, who can afford to play them? You know,
This is
I
so.
mean,
Last time I got excited about a console was the Wii. Like I thought that was really cool. Like this, they're clearly. I can't get that Wii experience on my PC.
you
Whereas,
know,
like whatever's out on Xbox, I got an Xbox S or whatever up there. Whatever I can play on that, I can play down here on
yeah, I
PC.
like the Xbox Series X. In fact, it's certainly my favorite Xbox, and in some ways, I would put it among my favorite consoles
Hmm.
because its backwards compatibility is sensational. Not
Right.
only is it backwards compatible, but it line doubles and improves the graphics so that games that shouldn't look good on my HD TV look better. Yeah, my favorite Xbox game, bar none, from the beginning to the end, is not a Halo. It's Burnout 3. I love Burnout 3. And if you play Burnout 3 on an original Xbox on an HD TV, it loses all of its three dimension. So you end up crashing into walls and things.
My nephew's big into these games. He's got like a Hot Wheels game.
Yeah, this is different.
He loves
Burnout
it.
3 isn't about winning the race. It's about causing accidents that make your opponent lose the race.
Okay, well that sounds more like something I would.
And
That's
they
more
have
my speed because I cannot drive worth a damn. You wouldn't want to
they
get in a car with me if you saw me play one of these.
they have levels in Burnout 3 where what you're really trying to do is cause an accident that does the most damage to this city block or to this area.
That's a little bit like Crazy Taxi back in the day.
No, no, no. Crazy Taxi, you still want to deliver your person alive. I mean, so one of the things to do in those levels I'm talking about is to crash your car to get the maximum damage. You crash your car and you find the gas tanker truck, wait till it's at the right place and smash your car into it. And, of course, you die too. But then it totals up all the damage, the value of all the damage that you've done. And it can be, it Burnout 3 is, oh, it's just an amazing game. Just an amazing game. I can't speak highly enough of it.
Wow. Okay. Well, you sold me. I'll find it. I got that Xbox up there. I could probably download it on the
I
whatever
don't
the
know if it's
Xbox service
downloadable.
is.
I don't think it is.
What?
I think they have other. I think they have Burnout 4 and Burnout Paradise City are available for download, but I don't think Burnout 3 is.
So it's not
Um,
Burnout 3 Takedown. It's just Burnout 3 with no.
I think that's the same, isn't it? I think it's Takedown.
I
I
see a
think,
PS2 version.
yeah, there's a PS2 version and an Xbox version.
Okay, well, let's see if I can find that.
But again, so you're going to need an old tube TV to watch it to play it on because you can't navigate it very well at high speed on an HD TV because everything looks flat.
So you
It
need the old
wasn't made for
CRT.
HD unless you have an Xbox Series X, and then it line doubles it.
I think I could probably run that on my. I got the monitor for the Commodore 64 back there.
That would work.
Yeah, I think that would work. That's about the only one of those I've got working.
Okay, so my assignment to you, should you choose
My
to be
homework.
assigned, would be let me know what you think about Burnout 3 and about the For to Michael commercial, because I'd
Okay,
love to hear what you think.
will do. You can watch that Sinistar documentary if you want.
I think that is actually high on my list.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks, Steve. It's been a real pleasure, man. We got to do this more often.
I'd like that.
Maybe when you get the new volume coming out, you'll probably be a hot topic or hot what's the word? Big time. But I'd love to have you back on to talk about that.
You know what? I'd be happy to.
Oh,
There was a time where I got really full of myself, and now I've had a lot of years to look back and to think it's time to deflate. So,
you got a lot
assuming
to be
that,
proud of. I mean, you've inspired a lot of people, including myself. I mean,
well,
that book, The Ultimate History, was. I don't know. We didn't. I just would say when I read that book, it reads like I'm watching a documentary.
you know what? Funny you'd say that. Uh, You know where I got the voice for it?
Hmm.
Watching Ken Burns' Civil War special. I even wanted Ken Burns to do a documentary on it. I would have loved Ken Burns to do a video game documentary based on my book. You know, he had that music from the Civil War,
Uh-huh.
from his Civil War documentary. Have you ever watched that?
Yeah, it's probably been a long. Well, it's like back in the '90s, right?
Yeah, it came out in or late '80s, maybe.
Yeah, when have I? I'm sure I've watched it. I've definitely
Yes,
seen enough of it to get the idea because he's
it
known for
it
that Ken Burns technique with the photographs, and I remember studying that, trying to figure out how to replicate it.
with the photographs and the narration, and there's a rhythm to the way he does things.
I think I saw
And
something he has. Maybe it was the looking at his oeuvre here. What was it? I think I saw his Vietnam one. No, the American
Vietnam,
Revolution. The American. No, that was brand new.
his
Yeah, he just
Vietnam
came
one
out.
was
He just
very
came out
good.
with that American Revolution, so he's still doing work.
Yes, and brilliant work. He's still fabulous to watch. I mean, really fabulous, and he brings in good narrators. He
Well,
had
why not
David
a video? Why
McKenna.
not? Why doesn't he do a video game one? I mean, that would be a.
I'd love for him to. He did, you know, he did one on jazz music and one on baseball. His one on baseball was great.
Yeah, I think he's kind of
And
known for finding these topics where there's not a lot of video footage or anything, right? So that lets him use the Ken Burns techniques.
well, but he used video footage in Vietnam and World War II,
Well, okay.
and
Well,
and some old footage. Yeah, but he's wonderful. Was he involved in Unforgivable Blackness, the story of Jack Johnson?
I'm looking here. I'm on his Wikipedia page. What's it called?
Unforgivable Blackness or
Yeah, yeah.
Darkness?
Looks like he's got 2 episodes. Jack Johnson.
Yeah, fascinating person. This boxing one there. He was the first black heavyweight champion.
Oh, I see he's done the one on country music too.
Yeah,
Oh, he's got Benjamin. Oh, he's got a ton of stuff.
yes, he does, and it's always good, always good.
Well, the
He's
Civil
got
War one's probably his best known, right?
well, it's because no one was prepared for it. It came out of left field. You know, when you thought of Civil War, you thought of boring documentaries, and here comes this brilliantly laid out, gorgeous thing with real people talking, mixed with photographs, mixed with letters, and the Civil War went from being this stodgy thing that people reenact to
Mhm.
making people cry when they because the soldiers became human. And like I say, that became very much the inspiration for when I was writing Ultimate History of Video Games.
I think you nailed it. I like the way that you did you bring in the like these little, what you call those? Probably can't see it. They're like call outs, I guess, or
Yeah, exactly.
you.
That
So
was stolen
you're
from
reading
Ken
like
Burns too.
yeah, it's like you're hearing the narrator, and then here comes the guest, and you read and they're always well chosen. You're like, whoa, I
You
can't
know what
believe
my
that
favorite
person
call
said
out
that.
was? My favorite call out was from Yasmin Bleeth, who
Okay.
looked at me when I did that interview with her. We were in this dark little office, and you know, Yasmin Bleeth at her during her Baywatch days was this stunning beauty. I had to really not look closely because if I knew that if I looked, I wasn't going to look away until she looked at me and she said, "I love playing Mario on my Atari." And
Oh,
then the spell was broken.
uh, yeah. Mm. Yeah, you got some great ones here. I mean, that's something that you sets it apart too, because one of the criticisms I get sometimes is people like, well, all this information, I could find this, all the technical specs or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, but you're not going to get these quotations from the people that I interviewed, and
Yeah.
I was just copying your style.
Well, thank you.
that,
I thank you, and
that
Ken Burns
brings it
thanks you.
alive. Yeah. Well, I didn't know. So though, yeah, Ken Burns. Okay, well, now I got some other stuff to watch.
Yep.
I'm almost positive I've seen that Civil War series, but I'd have
You
to see
know,
some. If I saw like a clip of it, I'd probably be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I've seen that."
As much as anything can be on TV, I would say the Civil War special for me was life-changing.
Mm. I watched that Band of Brothers series not too long ago. So
Yeah.
that's World War. Is that World War
World
One?
War II.
Two. World War Two. Yeah, that
They
was.
were the guys who came in behind Normandy.
Yeah, yeah. So I need to watch. I'll watch that. I watched the. Who was it? Yeah, Jack Johnson, Rise and Fall. Oh, he's a boxer.
Yeah,
Oh,
like I
okay. Well,
said.
there's the connection.
Well,
It's always, everything comes back to
but
boxing.
when you think about Jack Johnson, what you got to realize was at a time when a black man could be lynched for touching a white man, Jack Johnson went out and was boxing white men
Oh, that
and
is
beating
wow.
the hell out of them.
Yeah.
He's and not backing down, not apologetic.
Wow, Samuel
Just
L. Jackson does the voice. Huh.
that's funny. Oh yeah, but the narration is by David Keith. Okay. Or Keith David. Yeah, no, he so Ken Burns brings in celebrities to read the letters and comments and things.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah. And Samuel L. Jackson, it's a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous documentary. I still put Civil War at the top. But he made Jack Johnson come alive.
Well, just the title. I mean, the title alone, right?
Yeah.
Unforgivable Blackness. I mean, that's not just some random title that some
I think there
publicist.
might have been a book before there was his documentary, and so I think he took the
Oh,
title.
so maybe
from
take the Wait, cold ales and think distant thoughts. What? A quote from Johnson. Okay, I gotta watch. I'm getting distracted now by this Johnson thing. Okay. Wow,
You'll
my
love it. If you
okay.
don't love that documentary, I'll be surprised.
It box me. It's like
No,
me. Be Matt Barton's punch out over here. All right, Steve. Hey, see you soon. We'll have to do this again soon.
I'd like
Get
that.
that new volume out. Yeah.
I'd
Hey,
like
thanks
that.
again. It's been fantastic. Thanks again.
Thank you. It's been fun. Have a good day.
You too.
And okay. All right, you can stop now. That's all for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I dare say you did. Because Steve is an epic conversationalist. I mean, what a chat, man. If I could have more chats like this, I'd probably be doing a lot better. But you know what else makes me a lot better is you. So thank you very, very much. Thank you. With full gratitude for supporting Matt Chat, keeping these shows on the air, whether it's just watching them. Step above that is liking it, giving it the little thumbs up, the hyping, subscribing to the channel, and above all, going to that link in the Patreon link at in the description of the video to become a Ratron. Join that Rat Slayers Guild. We got the best Discord game community. If you like the stuff we talk about on this channel and you're not taking advantage of the Discord, you're missing out big time. We really want you to come on in. Don't worry. Nobody's going to bite you. Well, I mean, the rats might bite you, but you can whack them with the mace, which is a lot of fun. So don't hesitate. Quit waiting. Quit postponing. Go to that link in the show notes to the Patreon site. We really need your help to keep these shows in production. We've got great plans, but we can't do it without you. So just pause the video. Pause it. Go sign up. Become a patron. Become a Ratron. Throw a few bucks my way, come back, you'll enjoy the show 10 times more because you'll be part of it. And that's really, really cool. So thank you very much for everybody who is going to do that. Oh, you did. Oh, well, thank you for that. You know, I love the patrons and the Discords we got. I thought I'd name a few people here just at random. Disco Shrew, Martin. Martin's been real active. You know, Martin, I wonder if that's the same Martin who's doing all the great artwork over on Discord. I'm pretty sure it is. Pretty fantastic stuff. So you might want to join the Discord just to see Martin. Zerub LGR, Lazy Game Reviews, one of the oldest supporters of Matt Chat. I don't know if Clint's watching. His name is Clint. I hope he's watching. Yeah. Seth Robinson, of course. Legend of the Red Dragon. I'm pretty sure he still watches. Spence, I think Spence is the longest lifetime supporter of the show. The great Micah Mitchell, another one who's been around since the inception. You know, I did Matt Chat for a long time before I started doing the Patreon, so there might be fans that go back further than that, but you know, you're looking at like 15, 16 years of support. So I really appreciate that, and I think it makes me feel good to know that at least some people appreciate this content enough to keep supporting it after all these years, and you need to join the team. All right, enough of that. What about, though, a little thing that we call News from the Matt Cave? Oh man, so much news, so much news. I feel like the Weekly World News here. You don't probably even know what I'm talking about, right? The Bat Boy and the aliens visiting the White House. My grandpa loved that newspaper, and I would always read it. We'd laugh, and just some good memories there with the Weekly World News. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get to the actual news. Mr. Shane Stacks. Oh, he's been real active on the Discord. He just wants to talk about this game called Tex Murphy. Tex Murphy is back. Now, you might remember those full motion video games back when that was considered cool. And these were some of the better. You know, there's a lot of trashy ones, just junk. But these Tex Murphy ones really stand out. Now, these were quality games. However you feel about FMV, it's still a lot of fun stuff to look into there. I guess first one was called Under a Killing Moon. Isn't that an echo in the Bunnymen album? Or am I thinking of something else? Maybe that's... Never mind that. Let's see what else. 1994 is when the game originally came out. So they are rebuilding the 3D environments in Unreal Engine 5 while upscaling the original live-action video footage. The campaign describes it as, it's a Kickstarter campaign. Did I mention that? Yes, they're trying to kickstart this bad boy. Whatever happened to Kickstarter? Man, you go to there, you look at the page, it's like, oh. You know, try not to look at all the crap around the good stuff. You know, some of those campaigns I don't know about. But this one looks pretty solid. A faithful modernization with modern controls, updated UI, ray traced 3D environments, HD, FMV, maybe it's 4K, and remastered music. So rejoice all fans of Tex Murphy. I'm going to see if I can get these guys on to talk about this, because Tex Murphy's a pretty important game. I just always kind of found that FMV period fascinating. It didn't seem like it stayed around that long. I think we should revisit it for sure. So let's see. Yuval Dorfman is heading that project, indie developer. Okay, what else I got there? If they could pull this off, could it be the model for bringing back other CD-ROM adventure classics? You know, I was reading, I often wonder why I can't watch Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. It's one of my favorite shows. You know, I don't know, I know some people don't like Sorbo, but I just like the show. I've always liked that Xena. And I would like to watch them in HD, right? But apparently the problem is that when they did Star Trek and TNG and they did an HD version, or a Blu-ray version or something, nobody bought it. So they didn't make any money, so that kind of poo-pooed that whole movement to upscale all the old classic 90s TV shows. So, what the heck? I hope they'll get over that in a hurry. It doesn't look very good when you're trying to watch Hercules and everything looks kind of blurry and pixelated, right? You want to see the full details. All right, Miko. Miko writes in about, everybody seems excited about this one. Gothic 1 Remake. THQ Nordic says Gothic 1 Remake launched June 5th, 2026. Or I guess we'll, what's going on here? Is it out? How could it be out if it's launching in 2026? What year is this? I'm all confused. Okay. Anyway, this is developed by Alchemia Interactive. Full remake of Piranha Bytes 2001 cult RPG. Blah, blah, blah. Preserves the harsh old school feel, faction politics, lack of handholds, but some of the original jank survives too. Well, you had to have the jank or just wouldn't be Gothic, right? Let's see, what else is there to say about that? The question is whether modern players will embrace the remake or bounce off it in 10 minutes. Yeah, some folks are like, you know why Matt Chat hasn't been getting bigger and more popular is because you don't do enough of these sort of games. So maybe I will take a look at this. The Gothic 1 remake looks pretty good. All right, and then Martin, that same Martin, this is definitely the artist. Unless I got multiple Martins running around. This is a potential rival to Mount and Blade. One of the most interesting reveals on Steam is Chronicles Medieval. This is a sandbox RPG strategy game from Raw Power Games, headed by Iggy Pop. Not really. The pitch is ambitious. Start as a nobody, fight your way up from rags to riches. Now, that's a proper RPG. Yes, don't make me a frickin' god with incredible powers at the start. I want to work from rags to riches, building up a reputation, commanding an army, waging a war, and eventually shaping the fate of the whole living medieval world. This is slated for Steam Early Access in 2026. It's been a while since I played Mount and Blade. I had a really good time with that game. Remember, you could kind of wedge yourself up in a little crevice in the castle nook, and just sit there and behead, behead just hordes and hordes of people. So maybe this will recapture some of that. I'm just going to say a little something, a little plug, a little extra. I've been watching this show on MGM Plus called Robin Hood, and man, is it good. It's just way better. It wasn't so great when it started, the first few episodes, but man, it really gets good. It's got Sean Bean. And it's making me think maybe we're kind of overdue for a really good Robin Hood game. I don't think I've ever played a Robin Hood game that really captured the magic of some of those shows, including the one from the 80s. I think a Mount and Blade kind of format would work well for a really good Robin Hood game. I'm just putting that out there. Okay, what else? Punny! Oh, Punny's back. Punny. Writes in about Melted Kingdoms. This is a newly listed NDC RPG from May's team, published by Tinenox. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Release date is still to be announced. Very much an old school RPG catnip. Ruined post-cataclysm world. Political intrigue, factions, branching dialogues, skills, turn-based tactical, and open handcrafted world. What else? So apparently they're getting some notice for being very anti-AI. Or is it? Wait, maybe I read that wrong. Has a small, AI content disclosure. What the hell are we doing? What the hell are we doing with AI disclosure? Okay, the HUD icons are currently AI-generated placeholders, but the developer says they'll be replaced with hand-drawn icons later. And I just say, who gives a damn? Not me. I'm not going to lose any sleep over this whatsoever. Use the AI UI icons or whatever the hell it is. That game, to me, I'm not going to refuse to play a game or refuse to support a project like this just because of something like that. Seems a bit silly to me, especially for like an insignificant thing. Well, now that I say it though, I wonder, I guess you'd have to look at the AI placeholders and see, is it serviceable? Because one thing that does kind of gall me sometimes, well, let me put it in a positive way. I think if a developer puts a lot of attention and love into the UI, making sure everything looks good, has a theme to it, it feels good to use, that makes a huge difference to the whole quality of the game. So if we're just talking about little icons, that's one thing. But I'd sure hate if you turn too much over to the AI. In other words, not really play testing that and smoothing out all the wrinkles. That'd be something different, but we'll see. I don't like this idea of the AI purity tests and these disclosures and did you use AI? That's suspicious stuff. It just seems a bit counterproductive to me. What else? Shane again. Shane has to follow my AI rant. Okay, Star Wars Zero Company. So Electronic Arts and Bill Reactor, a Bit Reactor. I kind of like Bill Reactor better than Bit Reactor, but okay. A single-player turn-based tactics game coming in August 27th, 2026. Right around yours truly's birthday. Set near the end of the Clone Wars. You play as Hawks, a former Republic officer leading an elite squad against a new galactic threat. Oh, that's interesting. So the hook is that this will be Star Wars meets XCOM. Squad tactics-based decisions, battlefield adaptation operatives ranging from scoundrels and astromechs to even a Jedi. So yeah, why haven't we had this already? You know, there's so many Star Wars games out there that I don't even know. Maybe there has been something like this and it just passed my radar. But this one looks really good. And maybe they've got a big enough budget here to do a really good job on it. So this could be something pretty cool. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, well, I've worked up quite a thirst, as you can imagine. That's a lot of news segments. So what I got here is something called a Bero. I'm pretty sure I haven't done this before. Man, you know, you do enough of these, you can't even remember what I need like a database, and I think I got a Matt working on that. So this is called Noon Wheat. This is a non-alcoholic brew. Contains less than 0.5% alcohol by volume, so you don't have to worry about getting drunk. Cloudy and classic perfect citrus finish, bright and sessionable. Born in London, crafted in America, enjoyed worldwide. For some reason I was thinking with a name like Bero, it was like from Spain maybe, or from Italy. But anyway, pretty nondescript can. You know what I would like to see is you know, like with a lot of diet sodas, they figured out that if you just do no sugar at all, it kind of has a funky taste. But if they mix in just a little bit of sugar, or a little bit of whatever the real stuff, that can be a pretty good compromise, right? So you don't really notice that you're drinking a diet drink, but there's not going to be enough sugar to mess with your diet. So I would like to do something with beer like that, so that you have one that's, you know, I think like a non-alcoholic 0.5. There's so little alcohol you can't even taste it. You know, I'd put like 1% in there. I call it beer 1 instead of beer 0. So again, same goal. You're not going to get drunk from that. You're not going to get even a buzz from that, but it's just enough for you to get the flavor. So you're not obsessing about having a non-alcoholic. All right, so my allergies have been going bananas. Like I have to run for a Kleenex before I get done with this segment. So I don't know how accurately this will be done. Smells like apple juice. Yeah, there's definitely an apple-y aroma to this. I don't think I saw anything about apples on the can. It's called Noon Wheat. But again, that could just be my allergies. So let's pour some into the drinking horn. Do this proper. Yes, Bero. 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 Bero the hero. All right, let's give it a swig. That's an interesting flavor on that. What does that taste like? It's kind of a champagne-like taste, I would say. Yeah, definitely doesn't taste anything like a beer. I guess maybe like a real weedy one. Something like a very light Blue Moon, maybe. Except a Blue Moon has a real pronounced citrusy, kind of almost an orange like flavor, an aroma, at least to me. This one's more appley, which is kind of strange. So it's almost like you ever had that fancy apple cider? I forget the name of it, but if you can imagine that, but with a lot less sweetener, or a lot less sweet of a taste. Well, this is an interesting one. There on the back end, there's almost, I know it's supposed to be a wheat, but there's almost like a Pilsner taste to this on the back end. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd probably drink this, if you want to drink like one of those sparkling waters with a little bit of a sort of an apple with a little hint of a wheat ale-like taste, you might go for this. I don't think that anybody's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to give up my Blue Moons and my Belgian Abbey Ales. Now that I've got Bero, I don't need any, not that good. I'll give it one more taste here before I rate it. Yeah, I'm going to have to go pretty low on this. Doesn't taste like a beer. It tastes like again, sort of like that that sort of sparkling apple champagne substitute kind of a thing. If you took out all the really rich apple, I mean, why wouldn't you just drink that? It's got a lot better flavor. So I don't know what this is. Like, I might go one out. I'm tempted to go Bero, 0. But again, if you're not looking to replace beer in your life and you just want something kind of pleasant to drink, maybe you don't like it, you're kind of bored with just sparkling water or something, you might go for this. But I think you'd be a lot better off with those athletic company ales. Yeah, definitely. Just forget I ever tried this Bero. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up with a quotation. And since I interviewed Steve L. Kent, I want to find one from his book. Because he's got a lot of interviews and quotes in there from many, many famous developers, including Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari, and Chuck E. Cheese, animatronic rats. Okay, so here's the quotation from Nolan. Pretty good. It's fascinating to me how you can drink a non-alcoholic beer with basically no alcohol in it, and yet still feel buzzed. I mean, it must be like a psychosomatic thing. It's kind of crazy how that works, even knowing full well what it is. All right, but maybe I can slur my way through the quotation. It goes something like this. The way to have an interesting life is to stay on the steep part of the learning curve. Old Bushnell, pretty smart guy. All right, hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time.
Why should the people listen to you?
Because, unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent.